This podcast is brought to you by our merch affiliate. All merch as well as this podcast can be found on theliesdead.com. Link in the description. Thanks for listening. Welcome to the Lies Dead podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm Sam.
And today I think we're going to be talking about some powerlessness.
Surrender, unmanageability.
Basically newcomer things.
Yes.
Newcomer things. Okay.
Basically the first things you run across when you are getting into recovery or realize that you need to be getting into recovery.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I think even pre-recovery, I think a recovery implies a little bit like you're actually recovering rather than just thinking about recovering.
Right.
Like acting on it, rather than acting on it. What do you think what sticks out to you with like powerlessness? You know what I mean? Is there any particular like circumstance or situation?
I think that just because of the way the disease affected me particularly, it's really my powerlessness over other people that was always and is, I guess, really hard for me to like come to terms with and like let go of and accept that I don't really have any true influence over people.
Well, I don't even know if it's like a not an influence over them. I think I can definitely influence people with like fear, anger as a form of like control and things like that, and maybe even like a positive influence, but I don't know if that's like necessarily the right word.
It's still up to them.
Yeah, it's always up to them, but sometimes you just leave people no choice. You know what I mean? Like it's up to people whether they're not were like in my life, but like I really didn't like leave them a choice. Like it was just a bunch of damage all the time. Yeah. You see what I mean?
Yeah, no, I see what you mean.
Yeah, but over just, people, like I think when you said like people, I think of like my early days as like a kid, when I would get like a girlfriend or just have like friends and whatnot, and the amount of like love that I needed them to like fill me up with, you know what I mean? And then like you give me that, like that's what you're here for basically, and when you don't, like I'm gonna freak out on you, you know what I mean? That's like my powerlessness, my expectations like rearing their ugly head. Well,
and I know for me, I didn't really grow out of that until I got into recovery. It was always like love me, do this, like I need you to do this. And it just doesn't always work like that. I never had enough validation doing that. Right. Never.
Well, I think early on too, like early recovery before getting clean, but like thinking about getting clean, maybe like when I went to rehab, like things like that. I knew I had like some form of like powerlessness. Like I had like an inkling in my head, but I didn't really know like to my core. And I think there was like a turning point where not just the unmanageability of life and like being strung out all the time and things like that, but it's more of like I know it, like it's just brought me to my knees, you know what I mean, when I was beaten, Yeah,
it's crippling.
Yeah, it crippled me, and then only then was I willing to admit, or at least admit, not even accept the fact that I was powerless. And I thought it was over a particular substance. I'm powerless over heroin, or I'm powerless over alcohol or cocaine or weed or whatever was making my life unmanageable then. And then later on just kind of learning like, no, I'm powerless over like this disease that I have. I am powerless over people and like places and institutions and things, and the only thing I have any real power over is my attitude, my perspective on things, and then ultimately my behavior from that attitude and perspective, Yeah.
I think, I don't know. I guess, I don't know. Sometimes I, like, fantasize that I came to this in a unique way. And I guess we all do a little bit, but it's basically the same thing. We've been crippled by the fucking powerlessness in our lives, and we can't manage it anymore. We're no longer able to justify what we're doing. Like, it's just unjustifiable and, like, I don't know. For me, it got unbearable. I just couldn't, and I don't know. I guess that's kind of what leads us to an admission, but then that admission is what eventually leads us to surrender.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I think admitting it and then fighting it more. Admit, fight, admit, fight until fighting isn't like I don't have the energy to fight.
Yeah.
Well, and then it's like bottoms aren't. People are like high bottom alcoholics, high bottom addicts, or high bottom whatever they are, and I don't really. Circumstantially high bottoms, yeah. Maybe you didn't lose your house. Maybe you have millions of dollars in the bank. Maybe you had a gambling habit and you're gambling 10 grand a week, which would, if I made 10 grand a week, would be insane. But like that was just a little habit to them. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So they're high bottom when it comes to like society or social economic terms, things like that. But it's not about that. It's about like how I feel on the inside. You know what I mean? That's the bottom mm-hmm. where I can't look myself in the mirror. And that could be after, lying to a family member about my use, or it could be after stealing and, running from cops, or, shooting with toilet water, or whatever whatever the like circumstance, you know what I mean? Like whatever my soul is no longer capable of doing. And I think smashing the idea that I'm better than anybody or worse than anybody because I went lower or higher than them. You know mm-hmm. what I mean? Getting out of like the comparison mode and really look at myself, because all I want to do is look at everyone else. I don't mm-hmm. want to look at my own powerlessness. It's the world around me. That if you guys would just leave me alone and let me do what I want to do, then I ain't powerless, I got a handle on these things. If you give me money, a place to live, and don't mess with me and let me be high and do whatever I want, things would be great. And
you're gonna die.
Yeah, the truth is it's death. Yeah, it's death.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess what you were just touching on, the high bottoms. I think a lot of people, with an outside perspective on my usage, I guess we'll call it, would say that I had a high bottom, and it made it really difficult for me to like really dive into recovery, because my behaviors seemed justifiable even to people who don't have an addiction, who are like normal people, I guess. Mm-hmm. Everything I was doing seemed justifiable or understandable or whatever. And so for me, it was really easy to be like, I am different. But when I really rake into it, I'm not. I have the disease of addiction, and my I don't know. I guess my circumstances ceased to matter, because my soul had been fucking at war for so long that I was having trouble living with myself. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just got to a point that, with a house and a job and a car and, family that loved me and support from friends, like I couldn't live with myself. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. It was difficult to find willingness, I guess, to like put forth some effort to change some of my characteristics.
Well, yeah, it's moving at the speed of pain, and if I'm socially acceptable, especially, and I feel really bad for alcoholics, I really do, mm-hmm. Especially binge drinkers, or you know what I mean, functioning alcoholics as they call them. I feel especially bad because that social acceptability. I don't think anybody thinks it's okay to shoot heroin. I just don't. So it was real easy and like clear cut that even like socially I'm an outcast.
Like you had clearly crossed a line.
Yeah, I clearly crossed some lines where people like it's not okay with them. And then I guess like in recovery, like you end up crossing, just being a newcomer. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Doing newcomer things, like you end up crossing lines that like people have been in the program a while, like that ain't right, man. You know what I mean? People that have been around are like, nah, I don't think that's very spiritual. But I have to go through those same bumps and the same things I did when I was like trying to get clean. I always like to say that it's not about dope anymore. It's not about drugs. It's not about alcohol, because it's really not. But my good friend always says, Matt, it is about the dope. Like, you treat things like dope unhealthily, use and abuse them, and then to get over it, it's becoming a newcomer again in that area in your life. So I think with a little practice, like the big practice of like, I'm powerless over this disease, I can't control it, all I can do is not hang around those people, or not go to those places, and stay away from certain things, and then not only that kind of stuff, like, don't go here, don't do these things, but do these things. Go to a place where people are like you and have been through it, and are further along than you, and learn from them. It's a really simple concept, but I think it's just as important to do the things that I need to do, rather than like stay. Of course, don't hang out at your dealer's house, you know what I mean? Don't go to the bar. Like, those are simple things that kind of get in the way, but it's about, what am I doing with my time then? Well, I'm bored now. Well, you're boring,
Yeah.
Your life was basically consumed by that in one form or another, whether it was the alcohol taking over your life, or the drugs, or just the lifestyle itself, and the spiritual mindset.
Yeah. I've actually heard that theory applied to like diets as well. Like, rather than focusing on cutting out, sweets or pop or whatever, like, just focus on adding more good stuff, and eventually all that junk is going to fall away. Right. You're not going to want it anymore.
Yeah, your body's not going to need it anymore. And that's another thing really to get over, is that physical need. Ooh, like, when I see people in that state where I know that it's the biggest amount of anxiety they've ever experienced, and like the pain in the middle of their back, basically opiate withdrawal or whatever withdrawal they're on, and just jonesing, man, white knuckling. Like, maybe they're sitting in a group of people like them that have been doing it for a while, and yet still all they are consumed with is like that next use, but they know they need to be there for some reason. And eventually you just have to, like, really, that's the manning up part, is getting through that. Is getting through that turmoil inside of me,
Yeah.
Gosh, I hated that.
Physical angst.
Yeah, angst, that's a great word.
And that's the thing, like, I feel like at a certain point you get past that physical compulsion, but then there's like a mental one too. Like, you fall back into the same mental patterns, and well, I can't say mental behaviors. That's what I'm thinking. I know that's not right.
Well, it's thinking patterns.
Yeah.
Well, and I was talking to a guy earlier, and he was literally saying that, like, the more I fill this void inside of me with, like, hollow shit, a hollow chocolate egg, the ones you get at Easter, and you're like, oh, awesome, and then you buy it, it's hollow, it's still great, it's like the best chocolate, but like,
it would be better if it was a Wonder
It would be better if it'd be one with the caramel in the middle.
Yeah.
The one that's actually fulfilling. You're like, gosh.
No, a Wonder Ball.
Oh, right.
Back in the, like, 90s.
Yes.
Wonder.
Yeah. But the more I fill myself up with the hollowness of those things, like, it actually makes the hole bigger. You know what I mean? So I can never be, like, really satiated. So ripping all that away and then putting in, like, the tiny little bit of spirituality I am even capable of that moment, because I've been abusing my soul like that. It is insufficient for a while. It seems like it doesn't work, but it's like, it's playing the long game. Obviously, people with years and years and years, clean or sober, and working a program of recovery that has changed their life, whatever that looks like for them, it changed their life. However, whatever it looks like for you, because it looks different for everybody I know, even if it's the same thing. The juice is worth the squeeze now. Killing myself every day, one bag at a time, one drink at a time, it doesn't look good to them anymore, because that void isn't as gaping, and I have tools now to, like, fill that whenever I choose to, whenever I use them.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I lost my train of thought. I had something somewhere in the middle of your story.
I talk too much.
I feel like it was an analogy.
I love it.
For exactly what you're saying. A balloon. Yes. Filling your void, if you will.
Filling your void.
With hollow things. It's like filling a balloon with mouth air. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to float. It's not going to do what you want.
Right.
But if you're just a little patient and you wait for the walk to the helium tank and you fill it, you're going to get more of what you want out of it.
Yeah. And I get a new balloon every day.
Every day.
Every day. I choose what to do with it, you know? And it's hard to... And I guess, like, because it does... I guess it really sounds hippy-dippy and like, oh, it's all like a rainbow. Like, no, it's like really hard and real. Like, I don't walk around... I do walk around thinking about stuff like this just because I am, you know, a person in long-term recovery. So I do have things like this on my mind, and I meditate on them or whatever. I'm just driving and I'm thinking about it, or I call a friend and talk to him about it, or come home and talk to you about it. But it's not like every action is just constantly critiqued. Like, no, I just go live, look at the consequences of my action, positive and negative, and good on the positive. If it's real, you know, if it's a real positive, not just a, hey, I got a positive consequence for no fault of my own.
Yeah.
But then, like, diagnose the negative and be like, well, what is going on here? You know what I mean? And I know this seems really, really, really far away from powerlessness, but this is how I take the power back in my life, is by looking at myself and not looking at other people so much. Yeah, they need to be looked at. Yes, I need to judge people, but... in order just to survive on the earth, you know, but it's not really about that. It's how people look a lot better when I'm not focusing on them and I'm just focusing on myself. And I know it sounds crazily like egotistical, but it's more of like, what's my spiritual condition like? Yeah. You know what I mean? Where am I powerless in my life, and why am I upset about it? And what can I really do about it? How can I take the power back? You know, how can I take ownership of that?
Yeah. I don't know, and I guess when I am taking care of myself and, like, you know, making an effort to maintain my spiritual condition and doing the things I need to do for myself, it's like putting on a pair of glasses. And not in that it magnifies other people's issues, it's just that I can see more clearly their needs and their, like, what they're struggling with and what they're going through, and that not all of their shit reflects on me. Like, your bad attitude at the gas station doesn't mean shit to me. It doesn't matter, and it doesn't have to affect my day, because I'm doing okay today, and I can still be nice to you even though you're being a dick.
Right.
Because maybe you're going through some shit. Maybe if I just take the time to take care of myself so that I can do a little bit to take care of other people without draining myself, and I do have that problem a lot. I tend to try and take care too much of other people and not enough of myself. But when I can, and I can clear that fog, and get my glasses on and, like, see, like, okay, like, this is just the reality of the situation. I'll take care of my shit, and I'll do what I can for you. I'll ignore your faults. Like, it's fine. It's almost relieving, you know. It's like a weight off my chest to not feel like I have to deal with other people's shit all the time.
And I think it's a good segue into, like, unmanageability is the, like, not taking care of myself enough, trying to take care of other people too much, or not even that, just not taking care of anything, but just not taking care of myself. Is like a perfect recipe for disaster and unmanageability in my life. And it's so funny how, okay, I'm powerless. Fine. Yes, I'm powerless over the disease of addiction. Cool. Have it. Take it. Whatever. But when it comes to unmanageability, it's like, no, but these other areas of my life I'm doing great in. And I really hate saying it to people, but in my own experience and a lot of other people's experience I've heard is like, no, I wasn't a great dad. I'm not talking using, of course not. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm out for
That's a
myself.
given.
I don't have
Yeah.
the capacity. But also, I didn't realize, like, we were talking about that spiritual void and how I got a little bit in there in that giant void. So what was I like the first year? What was I like the first 18 months, the first 2 years? Probably not the greatest. And I'm sure I'm going to look back on this moment right now and be like, oh, I wasn't the greatest then. Which is a curse and a blessing, because like, man, I was so stupid. You know what I mean? Like, I thought I was a great dad. I thought if you just take away the alarming symptom, which is I can't stop taking drugs. I want to stop. I don't want to go use, but I'm going anyway. It's the weirdest thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Definition of powerlessness, using against my will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to stop, but I can't, you know. And then now, well, look at me now. Oh, I'm a great dad. No, I'm not. I'm just not. I know that now. Then I was like, no, I'm a good dad, but I also do all these drugs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm a great worker, but I'm always getting smashed going to work hungover or whatever. I don't realize my potential until I'm there. I'm doing fine. I'm making money or whatever, however I'm functioning, or however I want to rationalize it to myself, you know? Or it's I say rationalize, but really it's a delusion. It's a delusion of grandeur that, like, look how great I am. When the truth is, and the truth even today, I'm not as great or I'm not as bad as I think I am.
Right.
You know, when I'm self-righteous, I need, you know, plucked down a notch. And when I'm like too low and I'm like really insecure, I need to take a look around and be like, what do I really have here? Do people respect me? Do I respect myself? Do I have some integrity? You know?
Yeah.
And in my darkest moments, if I really look at it, do I have integrity all the time? Absolutely not. But I have enough to like feel good. You know?
Yeah. Well, and that's you also have enough to feel bad when you're doing wrong.
Right, yeah.
To right the problem.
Absolutely,
you know?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's a healthy guilt, guys.
Right.
There is a healthy level of that.
Yeah, I don't know about shame. God, shame's like one of the worst. Well, and I guess it comes down to like choice. You know, what am I choosing to do? That's one of the biggest things I've learned, and it was told to me before I even really knew. You know, like, I thought I knew, and when they said it to me, I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But then, like, 6 months, a year later, I actually felt it in my soul.
Yeah, you read it in a textbook.
Oh, yeah.
And then it came up in your math test, and you were like, oh, I got it.
Right, yeah, absolutely. And it's choice being, like, the biggest gift, you know, that I have a choice today. And whether that choice is to yell at the gas station attendant or be spiritual in a moment where it's very hard. Be calm, be peaceful, be loving and caring when it seems impossible to be loving and caring. It's both. You know what I mean? I have the choice. Now I also have other choices leading up to that one choice.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the gas station that, you know, it's not that moment in the gas station that got me. It was a bunch of moments before where I was constantly slipping back into old either defects or
A lack of spiritual maintenance.
right, absolutely, yeah. I'm not maintaining my 6-pack, and then I take off my shirt and I'm like, where'd it go? You know what I mean? I don't have a 6-pack, I never will. Anyway, I shouldn't say never. I'm not gonna work for
I'll
one.
like marker it on if you want.
Right. I just know I'm not gonna work for it, so no sense in
I don't
dreaming.
know. Chris Pratt used to be schlubby.
Yeah,
Look at him
right,
now.
he's sexy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He
Yeah.
is. Yep. I think we've touched on everything that I had written in my notes except for one thing, which early in recovery is, for me, was like this huge phenomenal thing that like needed to be talked about that I didn't know needed to be talked about.
Right, yeah.
I was like, I'll just deal with it when it comes.
Yeah.
And someone was like, someone's like, no. You need to look at this.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then I looked and it was terrifying. But I think just talking about things that are important early in recovery, reservations really need to be discussed.
Ooh, I was thinking the other res word.
Respect?
Resentments. I thought we were going to do it at the same time. Yeah.
Yours was better.
Okay. Reservations, that's a great one. What do you mean by reservation exactly?
I don't know, like, when it was pointed out to me that it was something I even needed to look at, I was like, what do you mean? And basically, you know, for me, sometimes I really need things spelled out very clearly for me. So, A, I'm pretty sure I looked up the definition, and B, the person I was talking to explained it very clearly and then asked me some questions. She was like, would you use again if your kids got sick?
Yeah.
Or whatever. And for a long time, I found myself being like, I don't know.
Right.
But again, this was early in recovery when I still just had reservation about being in recovery in general. Like, maybe I'm not quite there and I don't need this.
Right.
Like, maybe I'm not that bad enough to need this.
Yeah, I went to a meeting. I went and talked to some people, and they're way worse off, and I ain't like them.
So I was already there.
Absolutely.
So she was asking me these questions, and I was like, well, I don't know. But, you know, then when I really dug in and started looking at my life, how it was before I started working on myself and my spiritual condition, you know, when I started really looking at life, I saw that it's never going to help any situation, no matter how bad off I feel like I am. If I decide to make that choice again, it's gonna get worse.
Right.
You know, and it took a long time for me to get there, but I did, and I can see that now. But for a while, I was probably saying I don't know, because the answer was yeah, I would.
Right.
But that's hard to say.
It is hard to say.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to do that.
I definitely would. Right, yeah. That is a hard thing. Well, and I think now it's a hard thing to say for me in the opposite way.
I'm definitely not going to do that.
Well, it's hard to say that, yeah, I would use if so-and-so died or if this happened. It in the sense that, like, I don't mean it now. You know what I mean? Not in a sense that, like, oh, I really don't want to say... I'm saying I don't know because I want to say yes, but if I wouldn't feel my integrity would be threatened if I said yes, I would use it. Because you know what? I don't know. I don't know.
At this point, it's more of, I hope not. I hope I wouldn't.
I hope not, yeah. I don't know, but I hope not. I hope that I'm strong enough. I hope the things I did today carry me for today, and then tomorrow I can do some of those same similar things and keep this going.
I hope that whatever my maintenance was leading up to this was good enough.
Right. I always give myself a week. I honestly think that. Like a week of mentally deciding that all the things that have worked for me so far, all the suggestions and all that, yeah. You know what I mean? Fuck it. And I would like literally give myself a week before I'm either dead, going to jail. You know what I mean? Like I think I have that much time. And you know what's funny? I even, in the depths of me, I know that's egotistical because I know it's probably shorter. Yep. You know what I mean? And that doesn't seem...
I think there's some girl code out there. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, because I'm not into super girly culture, I guess. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure I, like, have heard it in several movies or something, or I'm making this up. One of the two. Someone check me on my shit if I'm wrong. But that we have 3 days. We allow ourselves 3 days to, like... You know, say the scenario is a breakup. You get 3 days to lay in your bed and cry and eat a whole tub of ice cream or whatever.
Right, yeah.
And then you man up and you're done.
You mean woman up. Yeah, that's what I was
Sorry, guys.
Dang, man up.
I'm not good with the feminist lingo.
Well, and I think a lot of the early reservations that I had were like... if my girlfriend that has my kid right now isn't going to be with me, I ain't staying clean. You know what I mean? I think my early attempts at like getting clean were in the moment, like I thought I was doing the right thing. It wasn't until I went through with it and I did it for those reasons that I realized that I had so many reservations. It wasn't after relapse that I was like, oh, there's where my reservation was. Like, this was the line where I was like, screw it, because I was doing it for any other reason besides the fact that I can't take it anymore.
Right.
I knew I could take more. I was just sick of everybody being on my shit. It wasn't even about that in the end. You know, this time it was more about like... Oh, I can't. I only used for, I don't know, a month or two. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I had been using for years at that point, on and off, on and off, on and off. And like, for whatever that month or two made me so miserable, you know, that the reservation, I was like, whatever, I'll do anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Please, please, please. You know, I'm a hostage at that point that's getting beaten and beaten. I'll tell you whatever you want. Just please make the pain stop.
Yeah.
And I think that really remembering those feelings and then like talking to other people and getting more clear picture of reality smashes those reservations. And I guess simply just saying them out loud. Yeah. This is what if this and this happen, I'm definitely going to use. And then most of the time, if I say some dumb shit like that out loud, and it is dumb to me now, I really thought these things, but saying some dumb shit like that out loud, the second it comes out of my mouth, I'm like, oh yeah, duh. Like, that's stupid. And it's almost as if the other person just needed to be there for their soul to take it out of me and be like, yeah, that's dumb as hell. And then in that, like, love is created. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just like, boom, like that.
Yeah, some about a genuine, like, empathy and, like, to know and feel and be like, but actually, here's what it actually is. And before, I know we're probably getting ready to end soon. We've been talking for a while. But you said something that kind of struck me wrong. So I want to make a clear point, I guess. Because you said when you were first kind of interested in getting clean, you said something about that you thought you were doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's that you weren't doing the right thing. You were doing the right thing. You were doing what you needed to be doing.
For sure. Yeah.
You weren't there yet. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, like, for me, I didn't get into recovery for myself. I did it because someone asked me to. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that that's wrong. I've heard a lot of people say, like, you need to do this for you. And that's true. But if you're doing it for something else right now, that's okay. Yeah. Until you get there. Until you get to doing it for you, by all means.
It can't hurt.
Do it for your kid. Do it for your husband.
Yeah.
Do it for your mom. Whoever, whatever you're doing it for. Do it to keep your fucking job. I don't care. But, like, do it until you find enough love for yourself to do it for you.
Do it for you. And I hear that very commonly, too. Like, my same good friend, was like, I didn't get into recovery because I was balling. Mm-hmm. No, he literally told me he got clean because he was broke. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, that was a huge motivating factor for me, because if I could have kept using... Yeah. Just money, monetarily. If you had the means. If I had the means, I would have done it. You know what I mean? And there's way to get means that I was too tired to do. I was too tired to fight and go out and mess with all that crap. I was like, whatever. But it made sense to me. And he was like, along the way, I found some recovery. I found something worth it. And I hear that so often. Mm-hmm. And we do say, yes, you have to do it for yourself, because the quicker you make that turnaround, the quicker you get into you get
deep into recovery.
But yeah, well, and it doesn't even have to be that deep. It's just got to be sufficient enough to, number one, not use. Because if I use it, but to actually start taking steps to recover the person, literally recover the person I was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah. So, okay, I think we've talked
a lot
for a while now.
Yeah, we have talked for a while. Yeah, guys, let us know what you guys think. Share, comment, DM us, questions, subscribe, all the Facebook, good stuff.
All those online things.
Yes, everybody knows the online things. Just support. We want to start a community here. We want to keep this thing rolling. And honestly, whether you watch it or not, we're going to keep doing it. This is fun as hell, man.
And honestly, we talk like this anyway, so might as well do it in front of a microphone.
Might as well put a microphone in it, and at least we can watch ourselves, right?
Yeah. Oh, God, no.
All right. Well, That's it from us.
Keep coming back, guys.